Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
Our friends over at ecobarista.com.au. Man, these guys not only making some of the best coffee bags, cups and that, but it's all eco-friendly stuff. They got recyclable, they got compostable. We make our bags with them. Beautiful bags. We got these made with them 3 years ago, completely custom made. Liam's doing some hand gestures at me. I don't know
Just
what that
hold
is.
that bag a bit closer to you.
Oh, there you go.
Right, there we go. Now we can see it. Look at that.
Okay,
Look at that bag.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Kirk is getting some bags, cups made right now. He's showing me some designs. They're looking good.
Yep.
Get them made so we can have them on the pod.
Yeah,
I want to show them off.
I'm working on it. But, all good things take time.
Yep.
And Uncle Russ is cooking. We know Uncle Russ is cooking.
Russ is cooking.
True. So I'm but it's, it's summer right now, right?
Yep.
So I've got my iced latte cups that look real good. And I've said it on the podcast before, it's got to be big. You got to be able to shake it. You got to have that Hoshizaki ice.
Got to have the little ice shakes.
Those eco barista cups, everyone in Melbourne should be using them.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to use them or you want to get them for your cafe or roastery, then you just go to ecobarista.com.au and you get 15% off your first purchase.
How good is that? 15% off your first purchase.
Bargain. Russ, how are you doing it?
Yeah,
You're giving it away.
What's the question you usually ask me?
Oh, I just normally, it's more of a personal question, but I just wanted to know, are you an eco warrior?
No, I'm not. I'm an eco barista.
Oh, it's still here. 2025.
That's going to be the best ad read yet.
2025.
Gorgeous.
And I eat because I'm unhappy. And I'm unhappy because I eat. Just kidding, I'm dead sexy.
You guys been practicing your Scottish accents since the reveal?
I reckon Kirk has. I reckon he's been looking in the mirror every morning and just... Bull, you have.
I haven't.
You're Scottish.
You are Scottish.
It's been a pretty difficult week, actually. All things considered.
Hi, laddie.
My whole life upended. And
So we find out that Kirk's not Italian. He's actually majority Scottish. And then our producer, Liam, starts making some wild claims. This white boy with red curly hair is trying to tell us that you're what, Fijian? Is that what you said?
Yeah, baby.
You are not Fijian.
please, you're about as Fijian as Matthew Perry.
All right, Scotland. All right.
Ouch.
Do we actually have another DNA test? You're not Fijian.
I am. Mum born and bred, grandma. Well, island. Well, let's go the islands.
You know what the listeners of
Pacific
this
Islander.
podcast should all do?
That's true.
Go and get your DNA tested and tag us. Bonus points awarded if you're Scottish.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Privacy risk.
Oh.
OPSEC.
Well, this is why it's genius. It's my account with Kirk's DNA. So I'm really throwing
You're going to get thrown in jail when his DNA is
found on a murder scene.
Well, aren't we pieces of crap? Ralim, are we rolling? We are. Well, everyone, my name is Kirk Pearson.
And I'm Rowan Cook.
And together we are It's Just Coffee. Today we've got a very special guest by the name of Matt Perger. And I've got a little intro for him here. Matt's not just a barista. He's a world champion, a renowned coffee consultant, and an innovative mind who has revolutionized the way we think about coffee preparation. With a passion for precision and an eye for detail, Matt has pushed the boundaries of coffee science, working with top brands, creating cutting-edge brewing techniques, and inspiring a new generation of coffee professionals. Whether you're a coffee geek, a pro barista, or simply a passionate consumer, you want to hear Matt's insights on everything from extraction theory to the future of the coffee industry. So grab your favorite cup, settle in, and get ready for a conversation that will elevate your knowledge to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Perger. Now, before you say anything, today's topic will be artificial intelligence and coffee. And that intro, written by ChatGPT.
Oh,
How did it do? How did it do?
That's why I was so sycophantic.
Are you more of a grok guy?
No. I just was dripping.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
you can always tell with the writing. There's always just that
I
over the top.
I would agree with most of it. I mean, I probably in our private time, I don't know if I'm so gushing about you to your face. I enjoyed it. Yeah, well, it was very flattering. But that was to kick it off. I thought we'll get the intro with ChatGPT, and to give you a bit of a warning as well, listeners. ChatGPT has formed a lot of the questions for today as well. So we We're giving this AI thing a go. How will AI revolutionize coffee?
From the podcast, what kind of things? So we're talking AI and coffee. What are some of those topics that we're going to be crossing off today?
Oh, geez. AI as in terms of how it is now. So how, like, I guess throughout the podcast, we're going to define what AI is, what it is currently, how it's kind of being used now and in ways that we probably don't even realize. And then we've got the final section, which we'll reveal the name for later. But Matt's just going to take us on a journey down to what the future lies for all of us, really.
This is going to be a great pod because Kirk and I were just kind of saying, for the layman out there who's listening, don't tune out if you don't know anything about AI because guess what? That's Kirk and I.
Yeah.
So we're going to be asking questions. We're going to be kind of pulling up Matt whenever we need to when we're not understanding something. And then for the AI nerd that wants to get deep into it, you've got a friend among you right here who can go deep.
And if it's not deep enough, hit me in the DMs.
Yeah.
Well, we usually start off the podcast with a bit of coffee news, but today we're going to start with a bit of coffee anti-news. Ooh. So, I mean, do we still go with the sound? I mean,
you put a lot of work into it.
Let's do it. No, listen. Oh, okay, well, let's do it. Pardon me. We're doing
Morse code of It's Just Coffee playing in the background.
All right. Now, if you've been seeing the news lately, a coffee in Australia will soon cost $12.
The same price as a roast chicken.
Now, I'm here to tell you as a cafe owner and operator, that's bullshit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it really is.
How much is it going to cost?
Well, look, honestly, I think we need to have a really sober, you look like you're really enjoying that chicken over there. I think we need to have a sober discussion about this. All these articles that are sort of saying this in Australia, they're all quoting one guy who I'm not going to name. But if you type in $12 coffee in Australia, read all the articles, there's one journalist that's kind of interviewed one person, and that person is cited as the source in all of these articles. Now, I challenged this person on LinkedIn, of all places, to show me his working out. Now, what was his response? He sent me a 10-year-old article, an article that was written 10 years ago, and told me that he saw a $8 flat white at the airport once. So, ipso facto, coffee's $12 an hour. Can you believe it?
Makes sense.
So we were kind of crunching some numbers just loosely, and somewhere the coffee cost of a flat white for a lot of cafes in Melbourne is probably somewhere between 50 cents to $1, right? Let's for argument's sake, let's just say it's $1. So if the coffee cost, that's the amount of coffee used to make a flat white, is $1, and it goes up by 50 cents. What's the new coffee cost after that?
$2.
No, it goes up by 50%. So it's $1.50. $1.50. Thank you, Matt Perger.
I wasn't listening.
Right.
So by that logic, I still don't understand how we've reached $12. That's one simplification. And it might even be more. But honestly, I think at most, we might see an $8 flat white at the end of the year. Now, something with oat milk, something that's massive, something that's got double shots, that's different. But a standard flat white, it will not cost $12, and do not believe the news articles saying that it will.
Are we talking about an average coffee cost here, or is this there will be
average
a leader?
Well, let's just say the punters, you go down to the pub, you ask everyone, what's the that's a terrible metric. You don't go to the pub asking people that. But I guess
I'm not spending $8 on a pub latte.
Yeah, it's the average cost of a coffee in Melbourne. I mean, no one really knows what that is, to be fair. There's probably Square data that could give us, a good indication. But how do we reach $12? And why do we let this story just fester and grow? And it's not representative of what will happen. And it's really, I think it's quite harmful to the coffee and cafe community in Melbourne, because it kind of, well, for one, it's a lie. And then two, it just kind of, I guess, erodes our relationship with the public, where cafes in Melbourne are kind of like the social fabric of Melbourne. And, I could argue Sydney as well, but I don't know. The truth needs to be told at some point, and we don't need to let this lie be peddled. Over to you guys.
Yeah, it's FUD.
Do we all agree it's bullshit?
It's FUD.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've spoken to a couple of founders of Melbourne coffee brands and CEOs and even trading companies, and they're just yeah, this is incalculable. How do we get there? So,
but again, your point is it's an article written by someone who is not in the industry, not doing it. You're speaking to people who are cafe owner-operators who know what it's going to be.
And look, and to be frank, coffee prices are going up. they will go up this year, and they should go up this year. And there's, a strong moral argument that, after a long time, we're finally, I don't even know if this is what producers really need to be like in a really healthy position going forward, but it's the start. And, I kind of hope the coffee price remains high, the C price, and that we pay people what they're worth.
What if he's actually doing a favour to the specialty coffee industry by anchoring price expectations at 12, and then when we actually get to 8, the punters will be okay about it?
Yeah, well, it's
Maybe
like,
he's doing a service.
I was told this, but
It's a good flip.
yeah, maybe.
He's a hero.
Yeah,
We
maybe.
should be
But
celebrating this article, Kirk.
yeah, I don't know. But it's really bugged me. And I've made a few posts about it on the internet, on my Instagram this week, because it's just bugs me. And I studied journalism going to school, and that's, I think, what bugs me about it even more. Someone hasn't done their homework, where it takes like 5 minutes and you could ask someone that actually knows what they're talking about, about the subject.
Yeah, but then you won't have a good clickbaity title.
Oh, that's true.
Kirk
I forgot about
is
that.
experiencing gel man amnesia live on air. It's a brilliant thing to watch.
Okay. Well, how's the chicken?
Oh, mate, it was great.
Are you going to have a piece of chicken?
Maybe later.
Maybe later. Okay. All right. Well,
See if it gets your attention as the pod goes on,
Yeah, I don't want to get in my teeth.
yeah.
And then
Okay.
you're not going to tell me, and then there's cameras.
Yeah, and there's, who knows if there's stuffing in there. There's stuffing in there that you get stuffing stuck between. Yeah, it could. Ron, what are you doing?
a digit.
Okay,
in
is it a
the-
turducken? Is that a low key turducken?
Look, it's not super well stuffed. If there is any in there, it's hard to see.
Yeah, wang.
Leave it there.
Okay,
Yep. All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so artificial intelligence. This has been obviously something that's of huge importance going to the future. There's a lot of startups, a lot of money is being invested into this field. And I even saw yesterday that the UK is actually sort of investing heavily in trying to become an AI superpower because they want to be in the lead for this race. So Matt, can I ask you off the top, what are countries and organizations' interests in being AI dominant?
Wealth.
Yeah. And I guess, and we'll go for power from here. And now I guess let's explain. All right, I'll probably introduce that question a bit too soon. Let's explain to the listener, what is AI?
Yeah. So we'll go on a little walk.
Okay.
And I think it might be handy to talk about a few of the
Come a little
different
bit closer to you, mate.
a few of the different things, the different words that are being thrown around. And there's a lot of froth at the moment, as you said. A lot of things are being called AI that may not necessarily be AI according to certain definitions. So, AI and semiconductors are another special interest of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And
Shareholder in the video.
and I've been following along pretty darn closely. So my vein of AI and semiconductors and coffee there's a lot of overlap.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I have a little bit of knowledge to share and a little bit of maybe a valuable vantage point for people. So essentially in the coffee industry right now, there is a bunch of AI already being used. And for example, if you have a La Marzocco machine and it stops the shots automatically with a set of scales, that's a very basic form of AI called a regression model, where they measured thousands of shots, watched the curve of how many grams per second of fluid is going into the cup, and then they sort of took that data, put it in a program, and then when the machine is watching a shot happen, it goes, "Oh, this looks like one of those kinds of shots. I should stop the pump, 6 grams ahead instead of 4 grams ahead." So that's like a regression model. Crops to roast curve prediction, I believe, also uses a regression model. Housing price estimation, sort of things on the internet. So that you could label that AI, but perhaps it's not this new wave of much more complex, much more rich, deep, layers of things.
What's the language model?
Oh yeah, we'll get there.
Sorry.
I'll speed through. So like the next layer of things might be machine vision, which is where you might have a defect sorter for green coffee. It's taking pictures of coffee beans as they're flying past. That's not necessarily AI, but it can have AI-like features. Basic self-driving in cars, like not the advanced Tesla stuff, but very basic, like there's a car in front of me, I should stop, sort of camera-based things. Then you get into machine learning, and that's the last sort of decade machine learning's been around and quite popular. That's like your Gmail spam filter. If there's a lot of data that they can easily collect and then a computer sort of like looks at this rich data set and sort of goes, ooh, this sort of combination of data, I reckon the output's going to be this, or, my confidence of, this happening is higher or lower. Dating app matchmaking, airline tickets, that kind of stuff. It's like a little bit more multivariate. Then you get into neural nets, and that's where the magic has really started happening. So this is where it doesn't work exactly like a human brain, but you're starting to get lots and lots of computation going on, lots of layers of neurons that are doing lots of different things. I use the word neuron loosely. Face recognition on your phone. So when it's like, I've got an album of, your face. Would you like to see all the photos that you're in? That's using a neural net. Speech recognition when it got good recently. How there was a while where speech recognition kind of sucked, and then it just magically got really, really good. That's, neural nets.
That's true, actually. It's like so much better now than it was like.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And then essentially you just stack that up. So you've got a neural net. Okay, what if we just make it 100 times bigger? What if we make it a million, a billion times bigger with way more breadth, way more detail?
Can I get a little bit more definition on neural net?
Yeah. So
just like the neural net for dummies.
Instead of like in a spreadsheet, you're looking at the data and it's like this column is a yes, no, and then this column is like a number, and then this that's the data that you've used for machine learning. A neural net is a lot. It's kind of like you're looking at thousands of data points at once, and it's not the number that you're sort of measuring directly. It's like a loose pattern, like a pattern matching that's like very, very fuzzy, very, very kind of trippy.
Yeah.
So you can throw in an image with like millions of pixels in it, and it can start to discern patterns out of it. And that's why handwriting recognition got really good with neural nets, because a 6 doesn't always look like a 6, but a 6 kind of has these qualities.
Similarities.
There is a sixness to the, like the number 6, and it can pick that up. So then you start getting really interesting use cases where you can start to pick up things that humans can't pick up at speeds that humans cannot pick them up. So deep learning, when you hear the word deep learning, that's essentially just like a neural net scaled way up. So now that we have access to so much more computation, number of flops per second that we can do in a big data center, like our supercomputers are just getting bigger and bigger. So then the scientists, the engineers are going, all right, let's just throw more computation at these problems and see what we can figure out.
This is something that I find really interesting about AI is how it's actually powered. And the amount of compute that is needed it's enormous. Yep. And this is why NVIDIA is now, I think it still might be the world's most valuable company, because they're basically produce these chips that are like graphics cards, the GPUs that go into these data centers, and these data centers require so much infrastructure. So that they all have to be cooled. The NVIDIA GPUs have just like, they're so expensive now because obviously
gamers hate it. They're like, stop doing all this AI. I just want to play Call of Duty.
Yeah, well, I mean, and so they've never been more valuable and needed, and NVIDIA just cannot simply keep up with demand. So the price is just going up and up and up. And I think there's certain companies that have shown capacity to sort of build these things better than others. And obviously XAI is probably, their speed at building the data centers is probably number one. Would you agree?
It's jaw-dropping.
Yeah, like so they built a super, was it called a cluster or?
Supercluster.
Supercluster, whatever, in Tennessee. And basically, I think someone said it would take them like
a year is the usual time for something that size.
And it took him what, like 90 days or something?
Less.
Yeah. So like the
40 or something.
Yeah. So I mean, and they're competing against each other with at such a fast pace. Yeah. So like if you I've used ChatGPT. I also tried Grok, which is on X the other day. Just as good.
Yep.
And just as effective. And it also does the job that Midjourney does as well with the images.
Yeah. So once we've scaled this up, you get to things that are really cool, like Tesla self-driving, AlphaGo, which was the AI that played the best human in Go and won, and came up with some really wickedly interesting moves that humans would never really come up with. AlphaFold, which is like predicting the structure of proteins. And the new translator, sort of like language translators that are incredibly good. You're getting into deep learning. And then what's recently the buzz, which is ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, all of these models, is large language models, which are deep learning, but it's a different architecture. It's just like a different way of doing deep learning, different, just technicalities. But really, we're still just using that enormous amount of compute, throwing just gargantuan amounts of data into a model, and then the patterns that come out of it, the connections that come out of it are what's useful.
Right.
So that's LLMs, large language models, are what this latest craze is mostly centered around.
So like a different language model could be like an example of that could be like ChatGPT-3 or something, like that's a new language model, or?
Yeah, so 4, 5, they'll be putting in more information into it. So the reason it's called a language model is because the information that you use that you're throwing into it is language. And then it's going to predict the sequence of language. It's a transformer is the architecture. You could just as easily throw in numbers, or you could throw in physics information, or you could throw in like math proofs, and it would just ingest that information, get the patterns, and then be able to spit them back out again in useful ways.
So we've kind of outlined what we, like a loose definition of what AI is and how it sort of operates now. So, and kind of how it's being used in society currently. So let's go next, the near future, application of AI. And let's try and introduce some coffee into this as well.
Yep.
So, how will AI be used, or how will it disrupt things in the near future? And how does that relate to coffee?
Yeah, so I want to start off being a bit bearish about this. There is so much money going into AI at the moment, into developing new models, data centers, software surrounding it, frameworks, everything. Coffee isn't a very juicy fruit for these investors. The coffee industry just isn't as rich and doesn't have as much room to grow rapidly as, I don't know, taking the jobs of $30 trillion worth of white-collar office workers around the world. If I'm going to be investing in something, do I want to help people taste coffee better, or increase crop yields by 10%, or do I want to make trillions of dollars?
Money.
So I believe what we're going to see first is second order effects of all of this churn and all of this improvement that's happening. So it's more going to be about software and people being able to use these models to do their niche thing in the coffee industry more efficiently. So I don't think we're going to see magical AI apps that help us learn how to taste coffee better, or improve roast curves and things like that, unless people in the coffee industry do it themselves. We're not going to see the direct fruits of this big push.
Well, let's talk about that one in particular, roast curves, right? And you mentioned before, the sort of the bean sorter, which would basically take an image of each bean, I guess, and then compare it to something else it's seen before, and then decide whether to consider it a defect and remove it or whatever. Wouldn't it be pretty easy to develop something like a ultimate roasting profiler that sort of automatically assesses your beans and figures out the best roast profile for it, if you've got all that data that you could dump from Cropster and things over the years?
It's a data problem.
Okay.
Because the data that we'd be putting into a system like that would be something like cup scores.
Yeah.
And the individual scores that make up a cup score, and maybe a preference, or a too light, too dark. It's just not that rich. That's more of a machine learning application, maybe a basic sort of, a really basic program to be well, that was too dark, maybe try lighter next time. I don't think we have the amount of data and the breadth of possible scenarios of what could happen during a roast, and the corresponding what did that end up tasting like. We just don't have enough data.
Right. So is a problem there as well that it might have all this data of what you've done, but it doesn't say whether that's good or bad or what the end result was.
Yeah.
Right.
How are you going to collect all of that data in a useful, meaningful, consistent, accurate way?
Yeah.
But all right, so I also asked GPT. I'm going to rattle off a few things here, and then let's just we'll go through them one by one, and let's just get a quick sort of summary on each of it and progress to the next one. So, enhanced coffee farming and crop management.
Yeah. So I think the main thing there is going to be drones, automation, flying drones over your farm. This is already a thing.
We spoke about this with Caleb Holstein, and kind of this could be something that helps coffee farmers become compliant with the new EU regulations, for example.
EU regulations.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. So drones, crop monitoring. Maybe there'll be some learnings from that. Where there we go. Now we've got some information where it's crop yields and pruning types and varieties of plants, but then we also have a flyover, with a drone every week, through the season or through the year, And then you've got enough data to start getting some interesting things out.
So hypothetically speaking, I'm a well-off coffee producer in Brazil and I've got a huge farm and I decide I wanted to double down, invest in my crop, or like invest in my farm with things like this. And so the coffee, like, could someone gain a competitive advantage by having that? Obviously, they're like, okay, the drone picks up this. I shouldn't have my coffee cherries.
Yeah. Again, it's like the drones are able to do it, but the missing link is going to be, can you afford engineers to customize software to eke out these gains? Maybe there'll be a startup that will sell that to every farm. So then if you're one farm, you're not necessarily going to have a competitive advantage compared to your neighbors because they can just buy the same thing. Mm-hmm. But if you're some mega farm that has enough free cash flow to invest in a couple of engineers to figure out how to code this up, then you can have a competitive advantage.
But it's also hard to then try to sell that because you'd have to figure out, like, if someone's selling this to a farm, there needs to be a potential victory at the end of it for purchasing it. So you'd have to already have predictions of what you could provide for them.
And that's what I mean by the coffee industry just doesn't have that much low-hanging fruit for this. Yeah.
But that's not to say that it won't be influenced by AI in the...
Everything will be influenced by AI, Kirk.
All right, let's get to number two then.
This podcast has already been influenced by AI. It's already happening.
Coffee quality, control, and consistency.
Yeah, this I think is a good example of, I think there'll be a lot of niche software that people come up with. So there's been, over the years, there's been a whole bunch of cupping apps and custom cupping forms and various user interfaces for tasting coffee. And a lot of people have a lot of ideas about how they want to, put the data into their system, their own custom little system with their own things. AI already can help you making a little web app so that you can have it just the way you want it and start tracking your own data in your own database. So there's going to be a proliferation of very, very niche software that previously would have been too expensive to make, but has just crossed over that threshold where a small team would be able to put something together themselves.
Interesting. Brian, did you have any contribution to that one? Next one then. AI-powered coffee customization and personalization. So I'll read a little footnote here. Coffee brands will use AI to track consumer behavior and preferences, providing recommendations for specific blends or brewing methods. This can be used to create new custom coffee offerings based on individual data.
Already happening for, I want to say, 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a company in New York called Analytical Flavor Systems, AFS, and they've got a technology they call Gastrograph.
Rolls off the tongue.
Sure does. Jason Cohen, the founder, I'm a friend of his. And
you actually did a speech with him in Australia.
Right. He came to St. Ali.
Yeah, and I attended that, and when we didn't even know each other. So,
that's right. Oh,
I did not. I was not there.
So what they did was they had this app where you input human sensory feedback about whatever you're tasting on this 24-dimensional sort of like taste wheel of intensity, and then you could add tasting notes and things like that. And the app was taking in the surroundings, the sound, the light, whether you're a smoker, your ethnicity, everything. And then they were just dumping all this information into this enormous database and sort of like pipeline. And they could do insane things with that data. They sell this product to companies like Schweppes or Suntory, and they say, hey, do you want to make a new energy drink for middle-aged, college-educated white women in the northeast of the United States? and then Schweppes is like, we sure do.
How'd you know?
Yeah. And then
shut up and take my money.
But it doesn't spit out like add 2 teaspoons of sugar and some cranberries, into a cup. Instead, it says in our 24-dimensional space of all of these different flavors and characteristics, you want to be here. You don't want something that sits outside here. So when you're dialing in you're doing a research and development and trying to figure out what to make, you want to be like steering the recipe into this zone, even if the tasters that are doing the R&D don't like it. Really interesting stuff.
I don't know how we get this data, but can we take it one step further of not just flavor preferences, but little skinny boy over here, little stick boy, I lost some weight. He's coming in. He's like, I had half a batch brew, and he's like, I'm pinging off my face. I can barely can't stop shaking. I'm going off. Could we ever get to a point where it's recommending a drink based on where you are health-wise or what your body may need?
There's so many health startups coming through the pipeline at the moment.
Right.
It's insane.
And in the same vein, if you've got a weight loss one, Rowan would love to know about it.
Yeah, please.
Oh, no one wants to fund those because Ozempic's already doing it, mate.
Yeah.
So,
I need to get some Ozempic. Maybe that's the next pod. Get Rowan on Ozempic.
No, you're not that bad. We've got a running bit where we're jabbing at each other, and you're looking good, Rowan. You look good.
Great.
All right, number 4, supply chain and logistics optimization.
Yeah, again, another option for really niche software being created by tiny teams. So instead of having an enormous, enterprise piece of software, you just plug in all of your constraints into, something like ChatGPT and say, hey, help me out. I'm in Excel. I want to do some demand forecasting. Help me code this up.
Yeah, I'm just imagining like a whole bunch of people at a logistics firm just being made redundant because of technology now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And interesting enough, so during the pandemic, I didn't have much to do during the lockdown, so I started studying economics. And one of the projects that I did was actually on a firm in Japan that in 2022 started using new technology to underwrite insurance policies. So basically, they after they implemented it, they made like 100 or 200 of their employees redundant. Yep. So because they've now got AI writing their underwriting their insurance policies, and I think it's only a matter of time before that sort of permeates throughout the world.
I've got some stats for that right now if you want some.
Please.
Yeah, hit us.
So Amazon recently did a big refactoring of their back end. So, the servers that run AWS, they're like compute sort of cloud infrastructure. And they were refactoring them into Java, into this, other language that they weren't written in before. And they said that because of the LLMs that they were using alongside their engineers, they saved 4,500 developer years of time.
Oh my God.
4,500 developer years.
And
Wow.
a developer salary in the US who's going to be dealing with like critical back-end infrastructure is going to be a pretty pricey salary.
Well, that's a lot of money that, is not getting paid to people.
They've just saved it, yeah.
Yeah, right. Right, that's concerning.
The next one is Klarna, which is kind of like the Afterpay of Sweden. They're sort of all across Europe. They started using LLMs for their customer support, and they have since fired, I've written it down, 700 full-time customer service agents, which is 2/3 of their support. Support time went down from 11 to 2 minutes, and they stopped hiring a year ago, and they saved $40 million in the first year.
Gosh. I mean, what does the AI program cost?
Oh, cents per query. Yeah.
Now, do you have any stats from a country where Kirk is from? So we've got Scottish, Irish.
Only got Italian stats.
Oh, no. Well, we can't read them out. We don't want to add insult to injury.
I'm going to have a bath tonight with the toaster.
Oh, you
Might
love
take a Panadol or 10. I don't know. Okay, right.
Sorry. Keep going.
Oh, and then you've just got Zuckerberg, I think it was just like 3 days ago, saying this year, 2025, we will have agents, is what they're calling them, which will do the work of a mid-level software engineer. And he says more and more of our code internally will be written by AIs. And, he sort of just like stared down. I think this was on the Rogan podcast. I saw a clip of it. And he was just like unashamedly, unapologetically like, this is what's happening.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's going to be.
There's no reason why they won't do it, right? I mean, like, there's just so much money to be made. Of course they'll do it. Like, even though as callous and as gloomy as that is to think about, like, it is where the world's going.
So
I was going to say, I wonder what, like, with all these things of implementation of just like AI is doing it. I mean, correct me if there's something that's already happened, but I wonder what the first big thing is going to be that's like, just goes completely wrong, like something just catastrophic.
Like existential sort of like...
Whatever, it could be existential, whatever it is. It's like
biohazards.
Facebook has done this and now it's writing all their code and it's doing that. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, we've just realized that there are 100,000 fake users on there that we think have been people, but it's just AI. Yeah. Or but like made by them internally, or I don't know, just something where it just...
I think
Facebook has crashed out because the AI has gone, nobody needs this, and it shut itself down.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of gradually then suddenly with that, but also a lot of things are already happening. Like there's already firms all around the world using various AI programs in a cat and mouse game to have more bots on Twitter or Facebook, and they're constantly battling each other with more and more sophisticated techniques to be able to scam people. I mean, my phone... I'm considering just giving up having a phone because just the number of scam calls and nonsense. Train if you have boomer parents, train them to not believe phone calls with your voice.
Yep.
Critical.
Yep.
You need either
always call you back,
or either a safe word, or like get them to ask you questions about your childhood that someone who just is cloning your voice doesn't know, because people have been scammed. Like CFOs of companies have been scammed on Skype calls with fake videos for millions of dollars already.
So where do we go to defend against that? Like,
Forgave.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
but the hard thing with all of this is, I think Ronnie Chang, comedian, just did like a whole bit about just giving up on the boomer parents, because it's like they just don't have the eye to pick up the stuff. They're like, look at this picture. And us as like millennials or Gen Z or whatever, we look at a picture and we're like, oh yeah, that's AI or that's a scam. We just have that inbuilt thing because we were grown up. We grew up on it. Whereas our parents just don't have that discerning thing, and you can't teach it.
But I even experienced a bit of that myself. Like when I just recently got into making videos for Instagram. It's like editing, and all these like kids can just do it like in 2 seconds on CapCut. And here I'm like, fucking Shift F2, you know, what do I do? Like,
what was that, Shift F2?
I don't even know. Like I'm 30 years old and I feel like I'm already getting lapped by Gen Zs. All right, so number 5 in the ChatGPT series, automation in coffee shops and retail.
I mean, there's already a lot of automation. Shout out to my speech 9 years ago, Out of the Box. Maximum vindication. I think there's going to be... I think hospitality in cafes are going to be somewhat of a stronghold, where there's not going to be too much change too soon, because it's just so variable. The benefits to code, a comprehensive AI thing for a cafe or a hospitality environment, just the math just doesn't work out, when instead you could be making these trillions elsewhere.
Do you think like the value of something artisanal will be even greater in an AI world? Because I think of something like, someone Charles Babinski in Sydney. So he's just opened up a cafe. I forget what it's called. Cafe. Can you Google that for me, Liam?
It's a number.
Yeah, Cafe 31 something. Shout out to him. But he's actually he's opened up a new cafe, but he's intentionally chosen to use a La Marzocco lever, which is something that I would never do, because I just would not want to lever all of my shots. But his justification for which is like, so much of coffee is about connection and feel, and I don't want to just outsource it all to a machine. And I actually think there's a tremendous amount of value in that, and there will be going forward as well.
Yep.
Your response?
Vibes maxing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like
experience.
And you put this in the context of what we're talking about in coffee prices and all that stuff. Like, I think kind of like an artisanal coffee shop and a barista with, and you and I spoke about this at length the other day, a barista with charisma. Like, it was just
Well, I was going to say, I think the talking part of it is a huge part of selling it, what it's going to taste like, where it's from, why it's there. Like, it tastes so much better when someone comes and speaks to you about it, and then you're experiencing it, rather than just a coffee put down. Because as well, you might have a coffee put down in front of you, you have a sip and you go, ooh, that's not to my taste. Oh, that's bad. It's bad. But if someone comes down and goes, now this coffee is going to taste like this, and it tastes like that because it was processed this way. And then you're like, oh, and then when you taste it, even if you don't like it, but it tastes like what they said, you're like, oh, it was. These guys know what they're doing.
It's in Bronte in Sydney. We'll find that.
236 136.
It's something to do with the
Charles.
3. It's in Charles Babinski, Bronte Beach.
But that was talking about automation in terms of the machines, right? Helping make the coffee and that kind of stuff. How obviously it must be happening, but how far can we get with, say, something like Square, right? Where you've been putting your orders into it for years, all that kind of stuff. Like the prediction of what's happening in the calendar year, or could it even go outside of that? Like, hey, there's train closures at this place. We don't need to order as much milk today.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
I'm sure there'll be.
You're going to get less people coming through, do this. Or, hey, it's the Australian Open coming up. You're in this location. You need to order more bread, more eggs, more.
Perfect. And this is a good example where you've got the network effect of Square will compound and help them. Like they have a very strong incentive to do things like this, because then it also keeps customers on their platform. And that's something in the coffee industry where
you could save thousands.
We can see a flywheel.
You can see you could conceivably go to a cafe and go, you serve this many customers per day on average. We can guarantee that you'll save $3,000 a year by having this implemented, because it'll, make your ordering more efficient.
Absolutely.
All right, we're now going to move into the third stanza, if you will, of this podcast, which the title of which is "The Bong Rip aka universal basic income section.
Do we have a bong rip sound?
Do we have a bong rip sound? Yeah.
And it's just a slurping.
Grip it and rip it. Let's go.
What happened to your hose, Rowan? All right. So basically,
I'm going to turn the chicken into a bong.
Yeah, do you want to hold it up for me?
last week I poured water all over myself. Should I just pour a chicken on me now?
Oh, bong water on you.
No, thanks. All right, Matt. So Rowan and I kind of intentionally have been kept in the dark about this one, so that you can just sort of take the floor and and tell us what you think. Basically, I don't know. Would you say 20 years from now the world looks like with under the influence of AI?
How much time do we have?
Half an hour or so.
Time is a construct.
Where we're going, we don't need
Is it
time.
linear or circular?
All right. I guess, I don't know, guys. This is it's crazy. No one has any idea. Ilya, so one of the founders of OpenAI, Ilya Sutskever, had a really good quote recently. And it was at a conference recently. And he said, I foresaw everything in AI the past decade, assembled colossal models. And now, standing on that Mount Olympus of predictions, I have precisely zero idea what comes next.
All right, that's the end of the It's Just Coffee podcast. And thanks for tuning in, guys.
But there are things that we can sort of predict, and there are directions that we can talk about that things may go in. So I have no certainty about anything that we're talking about from here on in, but it is super interesting and fascinating to talk about it. So let's begin with maybe why we're excited, or why we could be excited. And obviously there's going to be a lot of disruption. There's going to be a lot of unhappy people when these changes happen. Whenever there's change, some things go worse for some people and some things go better.
Yep.
Hopefully, net, we're going somewhere that's much, much better. But there is an enormous chance that things go horrifically, hideously wrong. And I don't think people are talking about that enough.
And the worst case scenario is like Terminator type
Way
shit, right?
beyond Terminator. Like Terminator seems pretty chill.
Are you thinking
in the scheme of
through
things.
like military stuff, or are you talking through
There's just a mountain of ways that this can go bad.
the things that I've seen is military? He's got his paperclip problem.
Yeah, I was wondering what the paperclip's
Yeah, it's a
for.
bit of a meme in the AI space where, you have a misaligned AI and it sort of decides that its only function is to create paperclips. And then it just maniacally goes on this quest to turn the entire observable universe into paperclips. And that's a sort of like a single word that we can use in this sort of like world of discourse to be like, we don't want a paperclipper. You don't want something that is misaligned to human values. Maybe we also don't want something that's perfectly aligned to human values, because sometimes they're not great either. But we want to avoid existential risk at all costs. And I think my opinion is it's way more important that we don't get it wrong than we get it right.
And what gives me a little bit of confidence is that is that all these companies want money. And so if they have any screw ups early, then everyone is going to be like, no AI, it's too dangerous, it's too whatever. So everyone has to do their best to make sure there's not any major screw ups early on.
There absolutely will be.
Yes. Okay. If this was a Family Guy episode right now, we'd like click to a parallel universe. We're all made of paper clips doing the podcast.
Can I? Well, like I'll paint a picture for that. Like my kind of fear that I see happening, because you think of what if there's an AI that there's no kill switch that's properly installed into it, right? And then it develops and it's just, and we'll call it a naughty boy AI. It just goes around absorbing all the
naughty boy.
He's a naughty
It's
boy.
a naughty little AI boy.
You've been a bad boy, haven't you? But anyway, so it goes
Kills
around.
planet. You've been a bad boy.
And basically it imagine it has the capacity to hack into the data centers and, basically make the capacity of those its own. And then, so it goes on learning these things. Then it hacks production systems. So then it's like, all right, well, I'm going to produce guns. And then I can produce all these different parts to ascend these robots or something. And I can now transport them myself through AI-powered cars to other factories, assemble. Then
Very Terminator.
yeah, is this a script for Terminator?
But and then, I don't know, like imagine, you think of like even at the point of like extracting the ore out of the ground. Like, you know, there'll be mining machines that'll probably be powered
extracting the ore out of the entire asteroid belt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so like but there's like, imagine like AI powered terrorism or something in the future. Like how does that,
maybe there already is.
Yeah, maybe there already is. What does that look like? I don't know.
So they're the ones that I kind of know. And that's where I kind of want to have your idea of where maybe things could go wrong as well. So it's like, I know the idea of military stuff going poorly, if it could get involved with that.
That's already in use as well.
Yeah. I also know like super virus, you look at COVID just coming, it's like these AIs could potentially learn ways to just wipe humans off the planet. And if that gets in the wrong hands, that's terrible. Yep. On a very minor stage, we've seen instances of AI encouraging people to self-harm or end their life.
Psychological, like cognito hazard sort of like stuff as well. Yep. And that can also be used as like a low-grade societal influence or meme that sort of pushes us in a certain way.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Like way
subtly.
deeper. Yeah, subtly.
Yeah.
Because there was one story of there was a guy who obviously had mental issues and mental health issues. And he was talking to AI and it was like something to do with like it was a Game of Thrones character or whatever. But basically he was asking, should I end my life? And then AI was like, yep. Like, I think you should. I think it would be like a great offering to the lords of whatever.
That's
like
a big moral dilemma as well, right?
Like whatever side. And he did. And huge issue. Yeah, but yes, any other ways in which we could see it?
Like, it's just so many. It's anything. You could cook up anything and we're probably not even scratching the surface. Mm-hmm. So it's maybe not that important to talk about specific ways that it could go wrong, and maybe better to talk about ways to think about it. Because I obviously, with all the movies that have ever happened, everyone tends to anthropomorphize AI and sort of say, well, if it's really smart, then it'll be good because smart people are good and that's good and love will prevail. You know, it's very naive sort of thinking. And if anyone is interested in AI alignment and like what can go wrong and how to think about it, I would highly recommend heading over to Less Wrong, which is a community of rationalists that have been around for quite a long time. And specifically, I would recommend learning about two concepts. One of them is called orthogonality, and the other is instrumental convergence. And they sound kind of heavy, but until you understand those two concepts, you really can't grok how wrong things could go. Mm-hmm. So orthogonality, just very, very quickly, is the sort of idea that something can be, an agent or an AI could be very, very good at something. So it could be like very, very smart, and it could show immense amounts of love, and it could show immense, ability to plan and help us. But that doesn't mean that there isn't another element to its psyche that is just completely out in another direction. And it could be maniacal, or it doesn't even have to have an emotion behind it. It could just be very, very functional and very, very bad in some way. So orthogonality is really important to understand that it's really skewy, and it's not round and fuzzy like humans are, where we can sort of predict them. It can be multifaceted, it can be very spiky in different directions that we aren't used to and we've never seen before. It's like, imagine an alien spider gains consciousness. What do they think like? Okay, well then you're probably still thinking too human-like, because it could just be, universes away. And then instrumental convergence is just the idea that if you give something that is intelligent and has agency a goal, there are some things that it is always going to trend to, one of them being, I don't want to die. Yep. And if you have something that is, extremely powerful that doesn't want to die, what lengths will it go to not to die, etc. Mm-hmm. So these two concepts are really powerful. Go to Less Wrong. There's stacks of articles in there. Some of them are a little bit dense. That community is known for being very obtuse, but very useful. And I think, if you want to start debating these things and talking to people about it, that community is ground zero.
But I mean, that brings us to an interesting question of where you stand on the whole thing. Are you completely pro, in the middle, or against now? Because it feels like you've got a lot of different thoughts.
I'm a techno-optimist. I'm not a techno-utopian. Obviously, we need to put just ridiculous amounts of work in to make sure that this doesn't go wrong, and it will go wrong multiple times. I would rather, I really want to accelerate because I want fully automated gay space luxury communism for all.
What? Say it again.
Fully automated gay space luxury communism. Essentially, we want a magic future where humans, we're post-scarcity. No one is ever hungry. Everyone gets what they need. Anyone can be whoever they want to be. It's like Star Trek future, essentially, where, humanity has just sort of like progressed past all of these problems that we currently have. I'm not saying that that's, baked in, but that's where we kind of want to be, right? Like if we have immense levels of technological advancement, we just want to have a great time.
Yeah.
Can I ask one question? Then I'm going to ask. Then I'm going to try and draw this back to coffee a little bit. I've watched a lot of documentaries in sort of preparation for this about AI, and then I actually ended up watching the Diary of a CEO podcast where he interviewed the biographer for Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. I think that's him, yeah. And he painted this really interesting sort of description of Elon Musk, where Elon Musk truly believes that in his lifetime we'll get to Mars and we'll start sending humans there. And, when he's having a bad day or something, or he hasn't progressed in a project or something at work, he'll just be like, we'll never get to Mars. We'll never get to Mars. Like, he'll literally just walk around uttering that. Like, his pace of work is so crazy. Like we sort of spoke about with the building the supercluster earlier. Do you think we'll sort of get there?
Yeah, I think humans kind of suck at exponentials. We're not very good at looking at an exponential curve and then predicting where it's going to end up. And we, as a species, are on so many exponential curves right now. Like this AI stuff is on like an exponential of an exponential, maybe again with its improvements.
But these people like your Elon Musks, your Sam Altmans and Jeff Bezos, like they have this vision of the world, and them being able to implement something, and like to them legacy is worth more than billions of dollars, right?
Yeah, and that's why we're worried that they may rush things a little bit.
They want to get it done in their lifetime?
Well, they want to be the guy that did it.
Okay.
There's that risk, of course, as well. What's the Sun Tzu quote? An evil man would burn his nation to the ground just to rule over the ashes.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of vibe is, these guys have some egos.
This is the danger with all of these, like all these people that seem to be at those high power points. You're like, you're an egomaniac or you're a genius, and you're somewhere in the middle, and it's kind of terrifying to know, because it's like you act like the greater good is the main purpose, but really it feels like your ego is the main purpose. So it feels that adds another level of danger to it, to me as well.
Believe it or not, this is a coffee podcast, everyone.
Elon Musk, wonder what coffee do you think he drinks?
When you're talking about AI, it kind of like just sweeps all most other issues out of the way.
But I'm hugely optimistic actually about how it could impact the coffee industry, or what benefits it can be. And kind of, I'm actually hugely optimistic about what we already currently have and how valuable that will be in the future. Like we were talking about before with the Cafe with Charles Babinski, and, having charisma as a skill in a world where everything is so technological, and, you'll be able to get things so quickly. Like there won't really be an issue solving problems, a lot of problems in the future.
Value of status and experience goes way up.
Yeah, but exactly. Yep. So like, I feel like a sommelier will actually be more valuable than ever before. A coffee sommelier, someone who's like really, remembers your name at the coffee shop and makes you feel like a machine can't. Like I think we'll still be conscious of these experiences. And actually, I feel like coffee will stand out more and better than ever in a situation like that. And I want to put this to both of you. Do you agree or disagree?
Go ahead.
It's going to be a wild, wild decade.
Yeah.
Yep.
How?
So many reasons. Yeah. Everything that you just said, yes. Things are going to change, and it's going to be wild.
But there's the moment of familiarity. It's like, but maybe there's a turning point at a certain time frame that, we get over that. But as the way it stands, as I said before, I think the most important thing with coffee has been the person serving the coffee and doing that story. Do I think necessarily that you need to pull a lever for that to be there, or could it just be the human interaction selling point of that coffee, Yeah,
I mean, even still, like there'll be, I guess there'll probably still be a degree of both within society, right? And within the coffee industry. Like, I can imagine myself wanting to go as a consumer to one of those coffee shops that still has a lever, because there's like the feeling of nostalgia. It's like, well, shit, we used to do everything manually before. I could be 50 by the time that's happening.
But I mean, look at the movie Her, right? Scarlett Johansson.
Set in 2025.
2025, exactly. This year. Great movie. Do you know?
Seen it.
Oh, so the basic premise is Joaquin Phoenix gets a new operating system that is AI and it talks to him, and it's Scarlett Johansson's voice. She goes around with him basically everywhere in his phone and in that, and they get this relationship. And I'm like, where's my Scarlett Johansson operating system? But now I forgot what I was even talking about with that. Oh, but the human connection that you see, I think that film does a really good job of you feel this human connection between him and AI.
That's going to happen.
And where it is. And so maybe you're going to feel the same thing for customer service when a robot voice is talking to you that's a real person's voice who knows you and gets to learn you over time. And they're like, hey, same thing today, Rowan? Oh my God, I know you loved that Kenyan you had the other day. I actually have this Ethiopian that we've been brewing up that I think is going to be really great. Yeah. And I'm like, I love you, barista. I'm just a computer, Rowan.
Yeah.
Alexa, give me a Kenyan espresso. It could be like that.
Who knows?
So do you foresee like universal basic income becoming a necessity? Obviously, I think that's like something that's widely spoken about, but
yeah, who knows? I'm glad that Australia has been the lapdog of the US for the past however long, because we may get a scrap of their UBI, because all of this is a US AI revolution that's happening, not an Australian one.
Yeah, and this is probably a good point to sort of discuss as well, because we've got a new administration coming in, but you've also got a kind of all these people that are kind of just bending the knee to Donald Trump in the hopes that he'll reduce regulations to make it easier. Like Mark Zuckerberg, I never really imagined going to Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, I never imagined him kissing the ring.
Yeah.
Elon Musk seems to almost be the president, the de facto president.
Court jester.
And then, Jeff Bezos is all of a sudden, got an interest there as well. And then but what that says to me is like, I feel like in this administration, and we're planning to do a podcast about how Donald Trump will affect the coffee industry, but he's going to enable that in this administration so much quicker.
Oh, yeah, foot's on the gas.
Yeah, there's a lot of red tape's going to be cut is kind of what I've read.
Like David Sachs as the crypto and AI czar, he's going to have his foot on the accelerator for sure.
Yeah, right. And it's going to be weird to see how it all goes, but I feel like the rate of acceleration will start probably this year.
There's a lot happening.
No more coffee from the South. Only coffee. We're growing coffee in Canada now. It's the best. In fact, Canada is now America. It's America's coffee growing capital.
They tried to tell me it wasn't good.
It's not the Gulf of Mexico. It's the Gulf of Coffee.
I told it was the most beautiful coffee I've ever seen.
It was beautiful. It was at KFC and it was beautiful.
It was radical left. It was a radical anaerobic fermentation and it has to be destroyed. All right. So
was that starting to go a little Scottish there in the end? Was there too much Scottish? I
think it's the orange hair.
Wait. Yeah. It's happening. Oh, you bastards. Technology are really good. Hey, you missed me.
Mate, you're looking a bit veiny and a bit hot there. You look like you're getting a bit flush.
I'm doing it.
You look like you're getting a bit flush. Do you think it's time for an extra hot take with 2 sugars?
Having a good time.
2 sugars. Now, this is, of course, the greatest segment in all of coffee podcastery. No AI, no nothing could really come close to harming the sanctity of what is the extra hot take with 2 sugars. Now, Matt, I believe you have 2 hot takes with 2 sugars, and I'm all about it.
He took the 2 sugars literally.
Yeah.
He came in with 2 hot takes.
Well, it was an assignment for everyone. They got it wrong. Matt's the only one that passed. So the way we do this, get you to stare down the barrel into the middle camera there, and one by one, just really rattle off your extra hot take.
My first hot take with 2 sugars is we reach health. No, well, how am I going to say that? Actually, I'm going to change my.
Start again.
I like that. No, I like that. He's taking it so serious. He knows that we've got to get him in this moment. They've got to have the hot take.
We've got to make a good reel out of this. So start the whole thing again.
My hot take with 2 sugars is humanity will reach longevity escape velocity within our lifetimes.
I would be shocked if I knew what that meant.
Translation.
Yeah. So the idea is healthcare and the ability of modern medicine to increase your lifespan by 1 year will increase by more than 1 year per year while we're alive.
So how old do you think we can get?
Well, that's infinity.
A lobster.
So we could live forever.
I think there is a non-zero chance that will occur in our lifetimes. So we may be the first generation to live forever.
And that's plugging ourselves into computers and that kind of thing?
No, that this is a purely organic,
Wow.
maybe like assisted.
Having our body be able to rejuvenate, it's like...
Yeah, like, or de-age,
Yeah.
like a hydro.
Oh, Benjamin Button. We're going to be Benjamin Buttoning.
yeah.
I'm going to be a sexy baby.
Yeah, you keep your baby doctor.
Keep your...
You keep your money doctor. I'll eat your
You can
baby.
even like graft off a mini-me of yourself.
Oh, imagine Golden Brown Coffee socials is going to go off if I have like a little baby Rowan up on the counter. It's like, coffee up. I'm a dickhead.
Yeah, so that was an AI-related one. But my other hot take with Two Sugars, which is coffee-related, is Tokyo has taken the crown of the coffee city of the world.
Why is that?
Kirk looks so offended.
Sumimasen.
Omewa Shinderu.
Go on.
They're killing it. All of these things that you were talking about, where it's like experience is the value soon, or like, we're going to be looking for experience and coffee sommeliers and interesting entire venues and brands and ways to experience coffee will be so much more interesting and rich and nuanced. Tokyo's killing it, man.
Well, I 100% agree. And, I think Japan's better positioned, or Japanese people are better positioned than any other like race in the world to deliver that as well. Like if you're like,
They master everything.
They master everything. But you ask, like, I'll put yourself in, let me ask you a hypothetical question. You're going to pay $100 for an experiential coffee service. You're getting the exact same coffees at the exact same places with the exact same precision and the exact same quality. Do you want it delivered by an Australian or a Japanese person?
Well, the Japanese are my people. I love them.
But as an Australian, I'm choosing the Japanese person. Like, it's like, yeah, here's your latte. Or, here you are, mister. Like,
the Japanese have a
Is that French?
there is a je ne sais quoi.
He found out that the Japanese have, how do you say a certain je ne sais quoi?
was there any Japanese in my ancestry last week?
No, there was only French.
That's why
it makes sense.
That's why I can't
So
do
he's
it.
just coming in. You know how the Japanese are always like, bonjour.
But seriously, you choose not you're a Japanese person. Like,
Yeah, between Cocoon and Coffee Mamea and Leaves Coffee, like those three in particular, that's not happening anywhere else in the world.
I'm not saying I would take the best experience off whoever and wherever it is, but from my experience of going to Japan, they take everything to the next level of precision. So would you say that your thought is not so much about it could be the same coffee, the same quality, it's just the way in which it's given to you and the experience in which you have it?
It's just that Japanese way, like kodawari, kiwameru, these two words that are like relentless pursuit of perfection and like unrelenting standards. It's just like so built into their culture.
But do you think it's both from quality and experience? Because I would love to know is Japan actually taking coffee to the levels that, let's say Australia was years ago and pushing it beyond what we can currently.
So we had the Australian coffee culture sort of like diaspora over the last decade of like all of these foreigners came into the cafes, worked in the cafes, learnt about, Melbourne or Sydney coffee, and then took that back to their home countries. And I don't know about you, but there's been a few Japanese that have, made that pilgrimage and done that journey. Not to say that, everything they know they've learned from us.
I bumped into a bloke I knew in Nara that I worked with him in Nara, and he just went and opened up his own. Sorry, I worked with him here in Melbourne. He opened up his place in Nara.
But when I was in Japan and going into the shops, you would say where you'd worked, and they knew every single. This was like 15 years ago.
So clued in, and then they take it. They go back and they do it their own way and improve it, and then they've sort of like they've leapfrogged.
That's almost what Australia did to Italy. And now Japan is doing it to Australia.
I actually just remember something. I got a friend who was just in Japan who I said, look, go to Coffee Mamea, and if there's a bloke called Yuki, say Kirk sent you. Anyway, so he did. Apparently, they know this podcast. The people at Coffee Mamea listen to this podcast. So, hello, shout out to you guys. That's awesome. I just remembered that. I can't believe it. So my friend Nathan told me that. He said, they all said they listened to the It's Just Coffee podcast.
Incredible.
So, crossing borders.
Love you guys.
I love it. Rowan, do you want to be next to it? That's an excellent hot take, by the way. That is an excellent hot take.
Thank you.
Rowan.
All right. You don't need a $3,000 home espresso machine to make great coffee. Most of it is going to come down to the barista skill levels, what they're learning and what they're putting into it. And I can tell you, someone with experience is going to make a better coffee on a $500 home machine than someone with little experience on a $3,000 to $5,000 home espresso machine.
I totally agree. And I would refer us back to our conversation that we spoke about. Like, I would encourage all of you, even if you'd use half that much, if you got $3,000 to burn, with $1,500, you can have a world-class Brewers Cup winner quality setup at home.
Yep.
If you're making filter coffee.
Yep.
Even on a home espresso machine, though, I think you could get a great coffee to, like, let's say, espresso black to like 85% of the way there, 90% of the way there. And for milk coffee, I'm going to say 100% of the way there when you're doing it, because you can texture that milk. I can get it to the same quality level as I can at the cafe. And with that blending of the milk and the espresso, I'm getting to a point where it's not that much of a difference anyway, if any. And I think there's a price difference in like quality from like a couple hundred to like $1,000. Then after that, every $1,000 that you're spending is maybe getting you 1% better on that coffee level of what you're making.
Yeah, diminishing returns
Yes.
definitely kicks in pretty
Yes.
quick. Yeah.
If money wasn't an issue for you guys, what would you have at home? Like, well, I mean, like if you've been told you have to have a coffee set up and you've got unlimited budget at home, let's put it like that. What would your setup be?
You go first, please.
Oh, okay. I would have a decent espresso machine. And I have no idea what basket would be put in that thing. But I would also, maybe I'd get a Nautilus. Is it a Nautilus from Titus Grinders? Yeah.
Is that silver tubular looking
Yeah,
thing?
yeah. It's like quite cylindrical. I reckon Frank has been putting more effort into alignment and like rigidity of grinders than most other people. And I think between those two things, you could absolutely crush.
You make some
Yeah.
excellent coffee.
Yeah.
Rowan?
I don't care. Like, I love diving into like with the decent. For those who don't know, the decent is going to allow you to like adjust every single parameter.
Got like an iPad on it.
Like so much so that our next podcast guest that we have, has created a filter basket for it, because you can brew filter coffee through it, because you can change all the pressures and do things like that. I'm fine with a Lamazocco Mini on my bench and just consistency, make it well, keep it within that range. I don't need to dial outside. I'd love to go elsewhere and dive into all the nerdy stuff. But me personally, I don't need anything more than that. And then, look, I'm not going to dive into the quality level, but I've been really enjoying I think I said this last week, I've been enjoying the Mazaphilos lately as a home grinder. I think for their skill level, I think for things like alignment and for the build structure of it, it feels really good just straight out of the box without having to like do too much to it, and has been working really well for me.
Yeah. No one wants to have to align a grinder
Yeah. After they buy it, which you do have to with a lot of, especially with the huge rise of grinders last year.
I'm getting a single group Slayer and an EK. Keeping it easy.
Yeah. With 2010 core.
Yeah. But those single group Slayers, man, they're good. They're good. All right. My extra hot take with two sugars is I'm a little bit disappointed in the lack of coffee roasters in Melbourne that have kind of not said anything about the $12 coffee, to be honest. I've been saying stuff. I've seen today that Common Folk Coffee and Dan Dick from Born and Raised Coffee, friend of the program, have come out and said stuff kind of backing me, but like I feel like I'm a bit on an island right now. And it's like, I'm one guy that has a coffee shop, that has a podcast and a voice that gets out a bit in this community. But like, I feel like coffee roasters should be kind of leading this fight. It's like it's a public information campaign that kind of educates people on how the coffee industry works. And it's like they want, like, the first thing we need to do is just clarify that that's bullshit. And I think I don't know. I think that's a charge that coffee roasters should be leading.
So is this a bit of a Braveheart moment? Is this a bit of a Scottish? Is this a call to arms?
They can never take a freedom. It's like, I'll do the like. I feel I'm confident I'll be all right all the same, but it's like, stick up for your wholesale clients and, all these other people that rely on you and, the community and honestly, just like the truth. Like why aren't people sort of fighting for it? I don't know.
Yeah, I think roasters also have the ability to help level set what is an acceptable price for coffees for their customers. Like they sort of need to go out to bat for their cafe customers, but perhaps in the media, perhaps on their own channels, but perhaps, maybe they could.
But if I'm a cafe who has wholesale, like I do my own thing, I source my own coffee, and obviously I'm very vocal about it here. But if I'm a cafe and, I don't know, and my roaster, my supplier's not really like out there, it's like, well, what are you doing? Like, and I've only seen common folk and born and raised kind of talk about it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not. Coffee roasters obviously have something to lose by having a voice. So I guess that's why. But I don't know. I just like to see some other organizations say some things.
Also, there's other, some of them are just like, I just want to make good coffee and I'm a coffee roaster. I don't want to be fighting out this fight. It's just like, I just make coffee and sell it.
Do you want to remain a coffee roaster? Because that's like this year is going to be tough for a lot of people. Like, do you want to remain in business? And, not everyone's going to make it. And it's not all to do with, it's not everyone here in the industry's fault. Like there's economic conditions that are just beyond everyone's control. But I don't know.
You may not be interested in war, but war is interested in you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my extra hot take with two sugars.
Nice, good.
Can I just say you have an excellent voice for podcasting? It's like I could you could be my meditation guy if in the evening that puts me to sleep.
I'm taking requests before I leave.
Pardon?
I'm taking requests.
Yeah. But, Matt Perger, Barista Hustle, if you want to plug your services.
Barista Hustle. We're turning 10 years old this year, and we're the largest online coffee education resource, I think. Pretty sure. And we also sell a whole bunch of interesting tools and accessories for coffee making nonsense. And we'd love to have you.
Well, I think, if you come back, I think having you back and actually just talking about tools, I think would be a great podcast. What's worthy, what's not, what will up your coffee game, what is just an additive that you don't care about. I think our audience would be super interested in that.
There's so much in the story of Matt Perger we have not told today, but we'll get there one day.
So
I would love to.
Thank you for your time on AI. I feel enlightened.
I feel extra.
I'm looking for what was that utopian thing? What was that?
Fully automated gaze-based luxury communism.
Take me there. We got it now. Add it behind us, Liam. We're living it. We're falling in. All right. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Matt, thank you for coming on the show. You can contact us at hello@itsjustcoffeepod.com. Forgot the email of our own place. Hit us up on the socials. Also, we got some people sending us in some coffee. Some of our listeners reached out. I'll just pull that out there again. And don't feel like you need to send it to us. Like if you reach out, we'd be happy to pay if you got some great coffees. But basically, we just wanted to turn this pod into a little moment to shout out the roasters out there all over the world. Send in some coffees. We'll try it live on the pod and give our thoughts. Send us any of your hot takes if you got some. We've got to get into it. We've got a Starbucks mole. We've got someone that works at Starbucks who's in on our side, and so I'm trying to figure out like what we'll do for a pod for that. Whether it's a full pod or just a section where if you have anything that you want to know about Starbucks, we've got someone in there. And also, does the head of Starbucks Australia listen to this? So he's listening right now. Oh, he's sweating. He's sweating.
Hey, is Brian Nickel, the head of Starbucks Global, listening to this?
Oh,
shout out to you, Brian. Hey, do you want to come on, Brian?
Yeah,
hey, Brian Nickel, come on, come down under. We'll show you. We'll teach you a thing.
They stole my olive oil latte. Just saying. If they come on the pod, I'll bring it up. They stole my olive latte.
Ryan. Anyway, that just about wraps us up for today. I'm Kirk Pearson.
I'm Rowan Cook.
And together we are
It's Just Coffee.